So you're manifesting something big. Let's talk about it while I get ready to go to the airport. I got about 10 minutes. So when you manifest something big, first of all, congratulations. That is super exciting. And also, if you're anything like me, that can create some anxiety because you've never had it before. So it'll be very human of you to feel like, okay, I want this thing. I know that this thing is for me and I don't know how it's going to happen. And I don't know how it's going to work. And I don't know how long it's going to take. And I don't know who I'll need help from. And I don't know what to do next, right? All these questions come up, which is very normal and healthy, right? We want to know, we want the thing. So you can do the manifesting techniques. One of them I just posted the other day, which is great, but I'm going to give you the thing that you really get to prioritize if you want to manifest something big that you've never had before. And this is not something that actually is in the practices that I've posted about, or even like if you go online and you're like manifestation practices, right? They're going to tell you to write it out 100 times a day, 9 times a day, 3 times a day. They're going to tell you to do affirmations. They're going to tell you to retrain your nervous system. They're going to do all these things, right? Which all of it is helpful. All of it is relevant. The real thing though, the root of all this work is to begin to truly prep yourself to handle uncertainty. Okay? Because the thing that you're up against is not receiving, right? Receiving is a key word here. They're going to be like, you got to learn how to receive. Well, what happens when you're receiving? You're in uncertainty. The moment you decide to expose yourself to life, especially a life that you haven't experienced yet, or something that you haven't experienced yet, you are going to be reckoning with how your body, mind, and spirit responds to uncertainty. So the next question is, okay, Katie, well, how do I then work on expanding my capacity to be with uncertainty? And I just gave you a big clue. Okay. Because it's not about conquering uncertainty. It's not about handling uncertainty. What you get to do is be with it. Be with it. No need to write a story about it. Writing a story about it is anxiety. No need to resist it. Resisting it is depression. What you get to do is you get to acknowledge the fact that you don't know how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or why it's going to happen. But you do get to know that you must take action while you are experiencing uncertainty. And you get to be really honest with the fact that, like, honestly, you've had uncertainty your whole life, right? Because there is no guarantee. The only guarantee that we have is that you will live, you will have breath in your lungs, which hopefully you do right now, and then that time will end. There will come a time where there is no longer breath in your lungs, and that will be the end of it. So in this game of creating something new or experiencing something new, there will absolutely be uncertainty, and uncertainty is the paramount block to receiving something new. So when we talk about manifesting, the techniques that I've shown you, the techniques that you can look up online if you type in manifesting hacks, are really exposure therapy. They're covert exposure therapy for training yourself and your mind and your body to be okay with receiving the thing. But in order to be okay with receiving the thing, you have to hang in the uncertainty that happens from now until when you receive it. And also beyond when you receive it, because once you receive it, then what? Then what's next? So step one is I'm going to ask you or invite you to take a nice deep breath and realize that you are surrounded by uncertainty. And up until now, you have survived. You have survived uncertainty up until now. It has not defeated you, right? Because you're watching this video. You're sitting here watching me get ready to go to the airport. So the great news, the first win, your first win in manifesting and in creating the life of your dreams is that you are already successful. You're already successful at creating, at being with life, at handling uncertainty, being with it, right? So step one is realizing that you've already done it. You've got plenty of years of experience and you get to keep doing it and maybe doing it with less attachment, right? Because when we ask these questions, like, when will it happen? How will it happen? All of those questions are just in service to us trying to anchor in some sort of safety. And safety for humans is certainty. And that's why we stay in situations sometimes longer than we need to or longer than required because we think that we are certain there. And if we are certain there, then we are safe there, right? If you think about like your home, right? If you live in a home that is safe, the reason you feel safe there is because you know where everything is. You know what it sounds like at night there. You know what your bed feels like. You know what mornings are like there. You know where the shower is. You know where your food is. Like that's certainty. The certainty is the knowing. And so the second step is to know that you know you're going on an adventure. There's your certainty. There's your certainty. I'm going on an adventure to experience something that I've never experienced before. And I'm going to acknowledge that I know that it's happening, right? Because you know that life is going to move on. Life's going to continue. And so source your certainty from the continuation, that things are moving already. And that's what you can count on. You can count on things moving. Now, will they move in the way that you want them to move? I don't know. I can't guarantee you that. Especially because if your God is anything like my God loves pleasant surprises. My God loves to pleasantly surprise me. So when I commit to something, the outcome will happen, but the journey to the outcome often looks entirely different than what I could have imagined. And I believe that God always wants to write a good story and use us as a testimony. So there is absolutely going to be adventure. And that's why I use the word adventure, right? Because adventure inherently has this sentiment in it that like, expect the unexpected, expect it to be something different than what you thought it was going to be, and be in the embrace of that. Can you be in the excitement of that? Can you treat that like an awesome surprise party where, God is throwing the surprise party for you and knows exactly what you need and what you like better than you do. So that's the second step. The third step is that when your emotions get activated, when you start to see yourself, because that's really the whole point of all of it, right? No matter what you pick to manifest, the whole point of you creating that is to experience yourself and to make choices along the way about who you're going to be. As you experience yourself, you can do it from the perspective of the witness, right? The non-judgmental witness. So if you want to decrease uncertainty, remove the judgment that you might have on how the journey is going, because the journey is a neutral thing until you add a story. And so if you are the narrator and writer of the story, then you can absolutely source your certainty from the fact that you know that there is a story. There's a story, the story is happening, and you are in the story, and you're going to be curious in the story, and you're going to be open in the story, and you're going to show up in the way that you need to show up. And then if you need to pivot, that you're going to pivot, and that you are so powerful in your capacity to narrate a story, and this can be seen in the way that two very, very similar people will experience the same circumstance and have a totally different story about it. Somebody will say, I was traveling and my plane got rerouted and I landed in a different location, and they're stressed out and they're miserable and they're panicking. And the same person on the same flight, someone who was on the same flight, took the same route, is saying, I'm so grateful because I'm safe and I'm healthy and I have all my luggage and I'm just going to chill and watch a movie or talk to new people, right? Because this person has framed it as an adventure while the other person has framed it as a problem. And really, all the circumstance and the emotion and the sensation is asking for is to be witnessed, So the example that I like to remind myself of, because I'm human too, and uncertainty is inherently not one of my favorite things, is to treat it like the sky, Like the sky is something where I look up and there it is, and it's always there. And sometimes it's sunshiny, and sometimes it's rainy, and sometimes it's cloudy, and sometimes it's not. And either way, I've got to live my life. Either way, I've got to live. So in that living, how do I show up to it? I'm not going to go yell at the sky because the sun is shining and it's hot and I'm mad. I'm not going to try to change the weather. I'm going to adapt to it. I'm going to make the best out of it. And I encourage you to do the same. So have fun with uncertainty, and congratulations on your manifestations coming to fruition with ease and grace and love.